Hey everybody, welcome to Board Game Heaven. In this episode I'm going to talk about Rising 5 Runes of Asteros by Gary Kim and Evan Song. This edition is published by Portal Games and it's illustrated by Vincent Dutray. This is basically a rehash of the classic Mastermind game, only with a sci-fi theme, and in this edition it plays cooperatively. So you can play solo or up to 5 players. The game uses an app that plays as the game master, so basically the app is the mastermind, and you're trying to match runes to constellations in order to close a rift that is releasing scary monsters on the universe. And so I'll open up the box, show you what's inside, talk about the setup and the rules of the game, and I'll tell you what I think about it. Rising 5 Runes of Asteros. I have a German version which is called Helden von Asteros, published by Portal Games. Beautiful, beautiful artwork by Vincent Dutray. And as you can see, it has some UV spotlighting on there. You see that? So that is very cool. Really love the artwork there. It's instantly recognizable as being from Vincent Dutray. He makes super, super nice artwork. On the back of the box we can see some illustrations of the game setup. You can see here that they're using the app. So let's see what's inside. This box has been opened already, so no shrink this time. So we have the rule book here. So it's as big as the box and it is very nicely illustrated. Very bright colors as well. So it tells you what to do. And well, the rule book is in German, but the game itself is language independent, which is why I picked this version up at Spiel 2017. So you can always download the rules in your own language should you need to. So we have this, and I have no idea what this is for. It's a piece of space artwork. Okay, so we have this board, which is the Mastermind board. If you're playing this game with 5 players, then there's 4 players playing cooperatively, trying to crack the code. And you can add a 5th player to play the Mastermind if you're not using the app, or if you don't have a device that can play the app. But nowadays, well, this plays on any, a smartphone, so you don't really need it. And besides, I personally think it's a bit boring to play the Mastermind, but it is there, so yeah, that's a good thing. You have options. So here is the board, and it's pretty cool. So here is the planet Asteros with some alien text here. Here is the blood moon and the sun. So the moon is going to slide in front of the sun and make an eclipse, and you have to solve the riddle before that happens. So the planet looks pretty cool. There's some space art on the back, so that is also pretty cool. So even the back of the board is something to look at. And of course on the front of the board is where it's all gonna happen. So we have the 5 heroes here: Oracle, Hal, Eli, Nova, and Echo. And they all have their own special abilities. They are printed on the board and explained in the rules. You got a track here that you can use to keep track of the matches you made and the things that work and the things that don't. On the right is the Blood Moon track, so the Eclipse track. You start here with a shiny one, and you place a ring on this, which I will show you later, and then you slide it up or down. And over here is where your heroes can go on the planets. So there are spots to place cards on. You have 1, 2, and 3 decks of cards, and they all have 2 cards open on the board. And those circles here, those ovals, are where your heroes can go to interact with the card that's next to it. And in the middle there is the shrine, and you have to place 4 power cubes on this to be able to use the app. And you put the runes here, and then the app will zoom in on this color code over here, and it will take a snapshot and it'll tell you what happened. So that's the board. Then we have a very nice insert here, and we have the die that you're going to use to resolve the battles with the cards to see what happens. And you don't want to roll this because this advances the Eclipse track, and the rest is just simply comparing numbers. We have the 4 energy cubes here that you're going to place on the altar. This is used to put on the board where you take the snapshot and you put the runes on the 4 sides of this. This is the ring that slides over the moon to indicate where you are in the track, in the time. We have these cards. These are the hero cards, right? So we have a couple of cards mixed in with the blood moon, and that will advance the track. And you mix those in with the hero cards, and the hero cards are nothing more than simply pictures of the 5 heroes. So you have pictures of each of them, and having these cards simply means that you can play one or more of the same card to activate that hero once for each card. So you can play 1 hero on your turn. So very nice artwork again. I cannot get enough of Vincent Dutre's artwork. So yeah, those are basically the cards, and you shuffle them and you pass them out to the players with these mixed in. So and you draw from that deck, so there's always a chance of getting one of these. Then there are different cards here. You have these R cards, which are relics. Here you go. So there's 3 relics that you can get in the game that can do something. They have a one-time use. Then there's artifact cards with this A on them. There's 4 of those. So those are artifacts that you can find that also give you a benefit during the game. And then there's the 1, 2, and 3 cards. And as you notice, there's a couple of them. They have a gray back instead of a colored back. And the gray ones are simply the ones that are opened on the board first. So those are the first encounters that you will see, and the other ones are shuffled and placed on the board, and they have random encounters that will, this one, for example, you have to battle it and match the 4. Otherwise, if you lose, the blood moon will advance 1 point, and if you win, you get 2 of those energy cubes. And all kinds of stuff can happen here. And obviously, the number 1s are easier than the number 2s, and those are easier than the number 3 cards. So you have to team up to defeat the tougher ones. Right, so here are the tokens that you can use to keep track of which stellar sign that you're using. There are 4 different ones. So black basically means that it's the wrong one. Then you have this one. That means that you have the right constellation, but it's not in the right place. And the light one is, it is the right one and it is in the right place. And if you have just the outline in blue, then you simply don't know anything about that constellation yet. So there are, I think, 7 different constellations, if I'm remembering correctly. Well, there was 1 to match all of these, so we can simply count those. I think it was 7. So we have these. There's 2 sets of them. You only need 1 if you're playing with the app, and the second set is for the mastermind player, should you play with a 5th player. So 4, 5, 6, and red here is 7. So you have these, and then another set of 7. So these nicely, brightly colored runes are what you are placing on the board and scanning with your app. So that's them. And of course, last but certainly not least, are these cool standees. There's also a deluxe version of the game that has actual miniatures, but the regular version has standees, which are, of course, very nicely illustrated again. And so for each hero, there's 1 of those. You have Echo here. And Hal the robot. Can't quite remember all the names, but we'll see soon on the board. And here is Oracle. So yeah, 5 of these standees, and everything fits nicely into this nice insert. So that's what's in the box. Let's set up the game. So this is how you set up the game. So you have your board, you have all these runes, you just put them on the appropriate spot. You have 2 tiles of each of the 7 constellations, and they're double-sided. So you have those, you just put them aside. There are actually 2 sets of these, and one set has the M on the top left here. So those are for the mastermind player, should you choose to play with a 5th player. But if you're using the app, you don't need that set of extra tiles, so you just put them on the side, back in the box. So you got those here. You have your die, you have the 3 relic cards and the 4 artifact cards. You have your standees. You have all those decks with the encounters, and you take the gray backed ones and you put them in these spots here. So you have 2 of these and 2 of those and 2 of those. You shuffle the rest, put them back on a board. You have your 4 energy cubes that you need to find in order to place them on the altars. And you have this thing that you put on the same spot on the board. And then you put the ring on this spot, indicating where your progress is on the eclipse track. So that's really the whole setup. So what you do with the hero cards is this, depending on with how many players you are. If you're playing, let me just check that real quick. If you're playing with 2 and 3 players, you get 6 cards each, and 4 and 5 players get 5 cards each. So you just deal out the cards to the players. Let's see, I'm playing with 2 people here. So yeah, 6 cards each. Then you take the remaining cards, you can shuffle them if you want, and then you put them in more or less 3 almost equal stacks. If you want to play it in easy mode, if you want to play in medium mode, you make 4 stacks. If you want to play in hard mode, you make 5 stacks. Then you take these red moon cards. So depending on the difficulty, you take 3, 4, or 5 of those cards. Let's say I'm playing in easy mode, and then I just take those stacks, and somewhere in the middle, more or less, I just stick in one of these. There you go, and take the second stack, the second moon, put it in somewhere in between, just put that on top, and then the last one, and just put it in somewhere in the middle. Don't shuffle them again. This is your stack. So that means you're gonna encounter 3, 4, or 5 of those red moon cards, and they're gonna be more or less spaced evenly around, but you are going to encounter them. So you just put that deck somewhere within reach, and that is the setup of the game. Let's go to the rules. So at the very start of the game, the first thing you all do is just pick 4 of these runes and put them over there. So let's just say, I'm going to just randomly grab a few. We'll put this one here, I like that one as well there, and let's take the yellow one, put that here. So just pick 4 of them. You get those for free, you get to start with them. Then you take your app, so you start the app on your device, and there we go. So there's a nice background sound as well. So you have a tutorial as well. The rule book is even here, so that's handy. Or just start the game. Oh, look, it's me. So there we go. Then we've started the preparations. We can start the game. Okay. There's a little bit of a story here. That is pretty cool. It's a really well-made app. I'm really enjoying this. So that's pretty cool. You can skip it, of course. There's a skip button here, but at some point you get here. So there's an exit button, there's a check the sign button, and if you swipe, there's a history. So that's good. Let's see if I can, okay, there we go. Right, so this is basically the altar. As soon as I have 4 of those cubes on the altar, I can scan it with the app. So right now it's already in the scanning mode because I get to scan right away at the start of the game. So I'm gonna put, as you can see, there's 3 dots here and an arrow. So I try to line those up with, where is it? Oh, there. With these, see? And when it lines up, it should take a picture. Okay, so if for some reason it's not taking a picture, my phone took a picture, but this tablet obviously is having a bit of a trouble. But since it's bigger, I'm gonna use this. But you can also just swipe the runes in. So we put, as you can see, the red one on top. We put the blue one to the left, put the yellow one on the right, and we put the green one on the bottom. So this is what we did on our first start of the game. So there you go. Do I have to push it? Yes. Pew. So let's see what that tells us. So this is our tip. So we know that one of these guys, this one, this is correct and in the right place. Huzzah. So, well, we have to just put it somewhere. You can put it on a board. You know, there's a the vampire looking guy. He's there. So you take that one, but he's not in the right spot. We don't know which one it is. I'm just putting it somewhere on the board. Then we also know that the snake and the spider are there, but they are not correct. So you take the black snake and the black spider, and well, they are currently also on the board. And I'm just putting in with those that I use, but I don't know if they're correct. If I put them on the right, I can match them up with the ones that are correct. So this is a question mark, this is a correct mark. So that is the beginning of the game. Now, each player has 3 phases that they can play, starting with your heroes. So what you can do, you can either do a heroic feat, which is their special ability here, and an action with your cards, or you can pass. Then the second phase you can do is to resolve the red moon track, and the third phase is basically drawing new cards if you want to. So let's start with the first phase. So what can you do? You just take your cards and you check them and you see what you want to do first. Now if you have multiple cards for the same character, you can play all of those at the same time should you want to. So let's just say for now I'm gonna play here Oracle, and I'm gonna use both of these. So I can play those and I can say, okay, first I can choose to do my heroic feat. Now Oracle, I'll go through all of them one by one. So Oracle can swap out runes either there, should just swap 2 of them out, or he can swap one of those out with one of the ones that we didn't use yet. And he can do that for free. Next is Hal, and Hal can basically copy any of the other heroic feats of the hero that is in his spot as well. So if Hal would be here and Oracle would be here as well, then Hal could copy Oracle's special feat. So that was what he does. Then Eli can use her special ability to move the red moon track, the eclipse track, up 1 spot in that direction, buying you more time. Then there's Nova. Nova can fight 1 monster, so one of those creepy guys on the board, from any place that she is, and so she doesn't have to be next to that monster, but she can get any help from others. Normally when 2 guys are in the same spot and one of them is going to battle a monster, you roll the die, and for any other hero in your spot you get a +1, so that is helping out. But if Nova uses her special ability, she's on her own. But if she loses, then she does not have to move the ring down, because as you can see, whenever you lose from a monster, it says here, then the moon, that can be 1 or 2 printed on the card, moves that many spots down But if you win, you get the reward that's on the bottom. So in her case, if you use her special ability and loses, nothing happens on the moon track, but she's on her own. So she could attempt to defeat a creature for free, which is good. And then there's Echo. He has the leadership ability, and he can move one of the other characters from one spot to another of his choice. So that's the special abilities. Or I could pass, and if I pass, I go straight to the second phase. But before I do that, if I've done my heroic feat, I can also do an action. So my action is either using these cards, so one action per card. So in this case, I picked 2 oracle cards. So I can use the first one to move him anywhere on the board, in any spot, and then it doesn't matter if it's taken or not by any other, so you can occupy the same space. So for example, let's say I want to go over here. So that was my first card. I used that. Now I can use a second card, and a second action I can do with a card, aside from moving, is do an encounter. So an encounter is obviously these 6 cards. So in that case, I could choose to do an encounter with that creature over there. I don't have to battle him because it doesn't have a number on it. He looks very friendly as well, as you can see. And he basically just brings you either an energy cube, or he gives you more time by moving up the track of the eclipse 1 spot. So let's, for now, choose the energy cube. So I take this card, just discard it, and I take one of these energy cubes and I put it on the altar. So that was my second action. I've used these cards, they go away. So that's a second action I can do. And a third action I can do, aside from moving and interacting, is using the app. Now I can only do that once there are 4 of these energy cubes on the altar. Then I can use my action to take the app again, take a picture again, and then it'll give us new clues. But of course you need to swap things out first. So maybe I used my special ability before I did all the moving to, for example, swap these 2 around. I could have taken a new one as well, but I just want to see what happens here. So maybe instead of taking that cube, well, I had to have, I need a cube because we need 4 of them, but just for example, say that we did different stuff before and the cubes are already there, then I can use my action to operate the app. So once again, I take the app. So yeah, let's just see if I can get it. He just basically, let's see what he does. So every time you get one of those cubes, you can tap it and it will glow. So once you have all 4 of them, then you can use the altar. So if I swipe down, I can see my previous tips here. So the stuff I did before gave me these tips. And then if I go there and I swipe down, see, then I again have to do this. Now let's see if it works this time. No. Oh yeah, actually it did this time. Hey, let's see. So it's exactly the same, but that's not bad, because if I swipe down now, we actually learn something. So let's see. See? So the first 2 are still the same, and one of them is in the right spot, one of them isn't, and these 2 got swapped around. And this is good, because now we know that the red and the green one are the snake and the spider, and they're both wrong. So the next thing I could do is try to swap those out as fast as I can. So we've learned something, and that's how that goes. So that's basically what you do as a player. So now we go to the second phase. Now before I explain the second phase, which is resolving the Blood Red Moon crisis, I have to explain a little bit about third phase, which is redrawing cards. At the end of the round, so the third phase, you have to draw a card, but you can draw more cards if you want to. But if you draw a card, and it is a red moon, which is not in this case, then I just take it on my hand. But if it's a red moon, then I have to flip it over, end my turn, and put it on top of that deck. So there could be a situation in the second phase when somebody ended their turn by drawing a red moon, and then it's my turn. I do my first action, or I pass, and then I check the stack. If the hero deck has a red moon turned over on top, then is the time to resolve that. So what happens then? Whenever a blood red moon is visible over there, then you have to check the board. And you have to see which cards are open, and all the cards, all the monsters that have a blood red moon on them, you count them up. So there's 1, 2, 3 of those moons visible right now, which means that if there's a red moon over there on the deck, then I have to move this 1, 2, 3 spots down. So that is pretty scary. So the trick is to get rid of those monsters quickly. And well, you could also always draw a new one, you know, you never know what's coming, or at least keep them low value. So every time that a blood red moon turns up, you know, you try to limit your damage, because as soon as it reaches the red eclipse, you lose the game. Okay, so that is what happens during the moon crisis phase, the second phase. And then you simply take that red moon card, you discard it, and then you can't draw any other new cards. So then the next person has to play. But what happens if there is no red moon? Then I can simply draw new cards. So if we're 2 or 3 players, we have 6 cards. I had 6 cards, so I can draw back up to that original amount. So in 2 and 3 player game, you can draw up to 6. And in a 4 and 5 player game, I can draw back up to 5. I don't have to, mind you. If I have less cards, I could just choose to draw 1 card, because you always have to draw at least 1 card. And I could stop at that to keep, you know, the moons at bay. If I don't need that many cards, it's wise not to draw many. And then at the end of the turn, you simply check if there are empty spots at the encounter spots here, and then you turn over a new card until all the spots are filled again. So about those encounters again, so when I'm somewhere with one of the heroes and I want to spend an action card to do an encounter, so there are several things you can do. So you have these cards, and this will simply give you an artifact. If I take this card, then I can randomly pick one of these cards and it'll give me an artifact. I can hold on to that or just spend it right away, and this will in this case give me 2 energy cubes to put on the altar. There's different ones here, so let's see what they do. So this one actually helps me to put the eclipse back 2 spots. This is very helpful, so it buys me more time. This one lets me re-roll a die if I rolled the eclipse, for example, or maybe I rolled a bad number versus a monster. This lets me re-roll a die once, and this will give me a tip. So what does this symbol mean? Okay, let's take a look at the app. Here's that symbol. So I press that symbol, and then I can ask a question about any of the runes. So we already know that the green and the red one aren't in there. So we have the blue and the yellow one. We know that they are in there, but which one isn't? So let's ask about the purple one. So I press the purple one. Do you want to check the sign of this rune? Yes. And it tells me, well, the purple rune is that creature. So then I can take this creature that I still know nothing about yet. So I take the blue side, just like it's here, and I put it next to the purple rune. I just don't know if it's in there or not. I have to find that out, but at least I know this one matches. So that's what the question mark card does. Where was it? Oh, let's see. Oh, over here. So this one. You'll encounter this icon in other cards as well. So for example, this guy over here is also a helper and will also help me check out. He knows something about the rune, so I can ask him. Okay. Now, there is also evil guys in here, as you know. So how do we battle monsters? So obviously when there is a monster here and my character is here, then I spend an action, so I need to have a card. I can spend an action with her, First, of course, I can use my special ability, then use the action. I take the die and I roll it. Now this is a creature with a low number, it's just number 1, so I'm going to risk it alone. Just roll that and I roll a 1. So if I roll the same or higher, I defeat the creature. The creature goes away and I get, in this case, an energy cube. Hooray for energy cubes. If I lose though, I have to progress the eclipse 1 spot. So not good if you lose. Then if it's resolved, the card goes away, and then at the end of the round new cards get placed on the board. So as you can see, here is a monster that if not defeated will advance the clock by 2. If still on the board when a red moon is drawn, then it will also cause extra spots to advance. And if you defeat it, you can ask a question about one of those constellations. Now, this is a 5, and my die does not have a 5. So what do I do to defeat this one? Well, I can try to battle it when I'm there with multiple heroes. So for example, it's Hal's turn. I have a Hal card, I've played it. And I'm saying, okay, so Hal is going to do something. He's going to use a special ability. He could copy, in this case, Eli's or Nova's special ability. Well, Nova's special ability is kind of useless now because I can't get any help. So rolling the die will always result in a 4 or less. So I can't defeat it anyway. So I could use Eli's special ability and move the track back up, for example. But then comes the battle phase. So I just take my die and I roll it. And I rolled a 4, which is not enough to defeat him. But I've got 2 of my allies here, and they will both add +1 to my roll. So I actually rolled a 6, thus defeating this monster. And this is good, because this monster not only gives me that clue about a constellation, but as you can see also in the artwork, he's holding a green staff that's also over here. Now this green staff is a special relic that is one of these relic cards. And there's 3 of them. Here is the green staff. I can use this card at any time to gain 3 energy cubes. There's also a relic somewhere, one of the monsters, that gives me the sword that lets me use this Nova ability once. And there's a card, this one is also very powerful, that I also need to wrestle from the claws of one of those monsters. There's one monster in there somewhere that has this. And this can cancel one of those red moons. So if I draw a red moon, I can play this, destroy this amulet, just get rid of that card. So these are very, very powerful relics. So if you find those, try to get them from your monsters. So you win the game simply by guessing the correct runes and putting them in the correct order and then scanning them with the app. Had you for energy cubes, of course, and used an action to use that action. So then you scan it, and if it's correct, if all 4 of them are the correct runes, then you win the game. And as I said, you lose if that doesn't work before this hits the blood red moon. And that's how you play the game. The game also has a solo play variant, and of course also explains how to play as the mastermind. You use the box as a shield, you use that big cardboard placemat as your playing field where you can match the runes, and that small piece of cardboard that I didn't know what it was for is where you put the constellations for the others to see. So those are also in the rules book. It's all very clearly explained. It's just 12 pages. It has a summary on the back as well. So everything is explained here. So that's all very clear and very clearly illustrated as well. So what do I think about the game? Well, first of all, like I said, Vincent Dutrett's artwork is superb. It's fantastic. I love it. It's really the main reason I wanted this game. Secondly, it's Mastermind, but it's new Mastermind. You know, it's sci-fi, it's cooperative. You can do it with more than 2 players. Nobody has to play the Mastermind if you don't want to. So that's all big pluses. And it just, yeah, well, it looks gorgeous. And I really, really loved cooperative play in this. There's a lot of pressure because this will really advance quite fast. You really have to work together and use all of your powers optimally, and try to to discuss what next move is best, and see what you can do and which encounters you find, and they're all very, very interesting. I cannot recommend this game enough. I love it, I love it, I love it. It is great fun. Plays in about an hour if if you're a bit experienced, maybe a bit faster. First play took us about an hour and a half, maybe two even, because we were discussing a lot of stuff. But this is really a super cool game. It does, it does take a bit of a long time, so it doesn't have the immediate let's play it again factor unless you have lots of time again, but you do want to play it again. It just takes long, so you don't always have the time. But this is certainly a game I love to bring to all my game nights because it's just so cool and so beautiful. This is perfect. This is just a very clever take on Mastermind. Who would have thought of doing it like this and with the app? That is just brilliant. I love that. So yeah, I'm very enthusiastic about this game. I'm giving it big thumbs up. And so that was Rising 5 Runes of Asteros by Gary Kim and Evan Song, published by Portal Games. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and see you next time on Board Game Heaven.